Will Wisconsin embrace a nuclear future? Arzu Sarvastani brings us this report from the Capitol.
Wisconsin is in urgent need of affordable, reliable, safe energy that can help us reduce our carbon footprint. But is nuclear energy the solution that we're looking for? According to former member of the U.S. Nuclear Regulatory Commission, Peter Bradford, the market says no. Bradford holds a unique perspective on nuclear power. The NRC is an independent agency established by Congress to regulate the commercial use of nuclear power plants. Industry trade groups like the World Nuclear Association suggest that we're in the midst of a nuclear renaissance, a revival of support for nuclear energy. Given that Wisconsin has not seen a new nuclear plant since the construction of the Kewaunee plant in 1974, is there a new push for nuclear here? On Friday, Bradford gave a legislative briefing at the state capitol addressing the so-called nuclear renaissance and emphasizing the economic instability of nuclear power.
This is a paper renaissance. None of the applicants are actually committed to building the plants. They are seeking a license to do so, but they're careful to say that they have not yet made a firm decision to go forward. And more importantly, there is no financing in place for the construction of those 24 plants. And that, for reasons we'll see shortly, is because the industry just can't get private financing, essentially because the plants are just too expensive in relation to their competitors and also too uncertain in terms of actually producing returns for investors and the repayment of loans.
Bradford argued that the financial risks of new nuclear power plants are so high that corporate interests refuse to undertake the projects without loan guarantees from the government and financial backing from the public.
The reality is that none of the plants can get built unless either the state governments or the federal government or both help out by shifting the risks that are normally taken by investors and lenders in our system, shifting those risks either onto the taxpayers or onto the utilities customer.
Traditionally, utility customers don't start paying for a facility until it's actually online, but new nuclear plants are being supported by public financing long before they are producing anything in return. Bradford talked about Florida as the state that has been most open to new nuclear, pointing out that they are currently paying for facilities that are not expected to produce any energy for another 10 years. This has created substantial public backlash, and the same legislators who pushed the Florida bill are now trying to take it back. Current Wisconsin law requires that any applications for a license to build a new nuclear facility must demonstrate that the new plant will be economically advantageous to customers. The proposed Senate Bill 340, introduced on October 9th of this year, would repeal this mandate, making it easier to obtain a license. If publicly funded nuclear facilities are not the solution to our carbon woes, then what's the better option? For Bradford, the best alternative is to put a price and limit on carbon emission, which he believes will most quickly and effectively reduce carbon output and may even give nuclear power a jumpstart by making it more competitive against other energy sources. Despite the ongoing PR campaign by the World Nuclear Commission, Bradford insists that a new nuclear renaissance, pushed by legislation and run on public dollars, is not in line with the American ideals. But it did remind him of another country.
It's ironic that someone of my political outlook finds himself in the position of essentially lecturing Republicans on the virtues of markets. Cap-and-trade legislation, which the Republicans are more or less opposed to, is essentially the market-based approach to reducing CO2 emissions. The big government way to go about it is to pick a technology, bet hundreds of billions of dollars on it, assume that you can say with certainty that we need, this is the Republican position, 100 new nuclear plants by the year 2030. I mean, the Central Committee of the Chinese Communist Party specializes in that kind of thing. It's very strange to see the Republican Party in the U.S. taking the same approach, but there we are.
As it is, no nuclear plants have been built in the U.S. for more than 25 years. According to Diane Farcetta, organizer for the Wisconsin Network for Peace and Justice's Carbon-Free, Nuclear-Free campaign, the nuclear renaissance is representative of the nuclear industry's last gasp for a foothold in the American energy market. If they don't build something soon, Farcetta insists, the industry is going to die. While no new nuclear projects have yet been proposed for Wisconsin, the repeal of the moratorium could serve to make Wisconsin more appealing to the nuclear industry. Wisconsin is currently one of 20 states to still impose regulations on new nuclear licenses. Giving way to the nuclear industry could serve as an example to other states, leading to a domino effect of repealed moratoriums. Senate Bill 340 to repeal Wisconsin moratoriums on nuclear power licenses will likely be introduced in committee later this month and may go into hearings in January. For In Our Backyard, I'm Arzu Sarvastani.